morning. Hello, my name is Braden Ayers. I am your guest choir director this morning. Would you join us in our beginning hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place? It is 1008. Here we go.
Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Portland. Ours is a multi-generational community that is guided by love, that aims to collaborate to create justice in the world, and that is also radically inclusive. All of you is welcome here. And I'm just back from our National UUA General Assembly, where we sang together with thousands in the same room. And so it is inspiring to hear our hymns with that kind of resonance. So if you missed the General Assembly worship last Sunday, which we broadcast, I encourage you to watch it because it's fun to hear so many voices singing together. Following the service, I invite you to join fellow congregants for social hour in Fuller Hall. Danielle, you're eventually going to make your way down there, right? Good. So please enjoy one another's company and get to spend some more time with Danielle. And if you're a regular congregant who's lucky enough to be sitting next to someone new who may not know where Fuller is, don't assume they're new, but you can offer to show them the way. And if you're new, I'd be happy to meet with you with some other leaders. And if you have any questions about our congregation, for a welcome circle right here in the front to answer any questions that you might have. And here's some things to know about what is happening. First, we welcome our guest music director today. Braden Ayers is back with us. He is the artistic director and conductor of the Portland Gay Men's Chorus, and we're always glad to have him here. A note that our children's religious education program is on break for the summer, but care for nursery and toddlers is available during worship, and ages 3 through 6-ish are invited to play games and do crafts. And just so you know, children of all ages are always welcome in the sanctuary all year long. We're so glad you're with us too. And the full learning community programming will resume on September 7th on our multi-generational in-gathering Sunday. Here's just a glimpse of some summer opportunities. Summer yoga begins next Sunday, space is limited, and the class will meet from 9 to 10 on the first and third Sundays of July and August. Elliott summer camps. There are 3 opportunities, July 12th to July 19th, August 2nd to 9th, and Creative Arts. Elliott is August 9th to 13th in Seebeck, and it is, raise your hand if you've ever gone to Elliott. You can talk to one of those. People might have thought I was just talking about children. No, these are camps for people of all ages. If you didn't get to go to camp as a child, maybe this is your chance. The deadline for applications for our new Committee on Right Relations is coming up on July 15th. This will be a body that will help us to tend the covenant of our congregations, the promises that we aspire to full with one another, centering our values, and also to help foster an environment for healthy conflict to unfold. Conflict as a source of growth and opportunity, and really learning the difference between healthy and unhealthy conflict. And you'll find links to sign up for these opportunities and much more in our weekly Front Steps email. If you've not signed up for it, you're going to want to do that outside. And finally, and I know many of you know this, I wanted to share, in case you didn't know, that today is Danielle Garrett's last Sunday with us before she moves to her new congregation in Salem, Massachusetts. People get excited when I say Salem, Massachusetts. We are all, although the minister in Salem has already said they're hoping they can create like a cross-country relationship. We're all so deeply grateful that the UUA granted an extension of her time with us from 1 year to 2 years. Yes, we are. And now I invite you to turn to your neighbor or to share where you're coming in from on the chat. Welcome all. Welcome. That is my favorite sound. Hospitality in action. Welcome, welcome. And now I'd like to invite Jody Feldman to come forward to light our chalice. If you have a candle or chalice at home, we invite you to light yours alongside of us. And then Jody's going to share a testimonial. She is the leader of our Advancing Racial Justice Action Group. And, by the way, president-elect of Elliott Institute, that camp I just talked about. Oh, yeah. Are you going to coffee hour?
Yes.
So you can talk about either Advancing Racial Justice or Elliott Institute with Jody following the service. Let us center our hearts for worship and let us recite our unison affirmation. We are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love.
Good morning. My name is Jody Feldman, a longtime UU and a member here for the last 8 years. One of my primary activities here is to facilitate anti-racism learning circles. And I want to tell you the story of how I became involved, how these learning circles have become my ministry, and how the web of connections at First U made it all possible. My partner Bill and I moved to Portland in 2017 to be near our grandchildren. In 2018, we participated in Wellspring, which is a spiritual deepening class offered here at First U, where we met Anne. We also went to an auction event where Nancy insisted that we check out Elliott Institute, the UU Family Summer Camp just mentioned. We did go to the August camp in 2019, where the speaker was Meg Riley, the co-moderator of the UUA nationally, i.e. a big deal, who spoke about shaping Unitarian Universalism into a multicultural faith. Her presentation included lots of history about racism in our country. I was floored. I was an American history major in college. How come I didn't know these things, like the 1921 Tulsa Massacre and the 1968 Kerner Commission report and our long history of dehumanization written into our laws? These were things I was never taught. We met Scott at Elliott, also a First U member, who alerted us to the documentary podcast Seeing White. More stuff I didn't know. I shared it with Anne. She's the one I met through Wellspring. And in the summer of 2020, we gathered a group to discuss Seeing White together. We met via Zoom. It was COVID after all. That first group was ground shifting. We knew we needed to share our new understandings more broadly, but how? The Advancing Racial Justice Action Group at First U, RJAG for short, had an existing book group. Would they be interested? Yes, was the response. Gilda was ready to hand over the reins of that group that Ethel and others had started in 2013 as Ending the New Jim Crow. So in early 2021, we renamed the effort Anti-Racism Learning Circles. Now in our 5th year, we have grown beyond our walls. Part of RJAG's mission is to play a leadership role within and beyond our congregation. In addition to the many of you who have participated in learning circles, may I see a show of hands? Woohoo, fabulous. We invite over 75 UU and other churches to participate. We have a mailing list topping 600. We have reached people in over 12 states from countless congregations and many who are not affiliated. Our volunteer facilitators consist of about 16 from First U and 7 from other congregations. Don from Boise is now facilitating Seeing White, which gives me the opportunity to facilitate The Land That's Never Been Yet, the 1619 Project, Capitalism, Poverty by America, and yay, a few others. The list of books and podcasts we have offered numbers 28 and covers multiple topics. We have offered special learning circles to churches in Colorado, in Seattle, in Hood River, plus for the Alliance and the membership engagement team and Coho here at First U. I constantly hear how these groups have impacted folks. Here's just one quote. Participating changed everything for me. The immersion fully opened my eyes to the oppression that still exists today. Our interconnected web at First U made it all possible. From Wellspring to Elliott Institute, to the auction, to RJAG, from Anne and Nancy to Meg and Scott, and to Ethel and to Don and to all of you. It continues to be a blessing to share this work. We start learning circles again this fall, and I hope you'll join us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jody, for your leadership. I call us into worship this morning with these words by Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. Let us join in worship together this morning, remembering that we are not alone, and together mustering renewed courage for the journey that lies ahead. Let us rise in body or in spirit and join in our responsive reading this morning by poet Marge Piercy. Connections are made slowly. Sometimes they grow underground. You cannot tell always by looking what is happening. More than half a tree is spread out in the soil under your feet. Penetrate quietly as the earthworm that blows no trumpet. Fight persistently as the creeper that brings down the tree. Spread like the squash plant that overruns the garden. Gnaw in the dark and use the sun to make sugar. Weave real connections, create real nodes, build real houses. Live a life you can endure. Make love that is loving. Keep tangling and interweaving and taking more in. A thicket and bramble wilderness to the outside, but to us, it is interconnected with rabbit runs and burrows and lairs. Live as if you like yourself and it may happen. Reach out, keep reaching out, keep bringing in. This is how we are going to live for a long time, not always. For every gardener knows that after the digging, after the planting, after the long season of tending and growth, the harvest comes. Now let us join in our doxology, Spirit of Life.
It is the time in our service when we meditate on all that we give and receive from one another in this community. Our offering today goes to the First Unitarians Intern Minister Fund in honor of both Alan Deal, a former minister, and Chesney, another leader in our community. And today we chose Danielle's last Sunday to remind you that it is because of the generosity of members like you in the pews and others who have given gifts to this fund that we are able to invite an intern minister to come and serve this community. And sometimes we pull some from our operating funds as well. Right now, we don't have enough in the fund to fund an intern, and we hope to invite someone in November when we're invited to put up the announcement of an open internship possibility for the year after this one. So we invite you today to consider making a gift, and you could do that today, or you could continue to do that in the coming week. And this will make a big difference. We are a teaching congregation, and you, my friends, have so much to teach. Ministers in formation. And Danielle, you have proven that ministers in formation have so much to teach all of us. Hear, hear. So if you'd like to donate via check or cash, our ushers will be coming around in just a moment. If you're at home, you can use the QR code on the screen. And in the sanctuary, it's easier to find one of the yellow slips that have the QR code on them. And if you're on Boxcast, you can also use the Donate Now button. Thank you for your generosity. It makes a difference. At heart, we are a caring community. We, the ministers and lay ministers, and all of you, care for one another through times of great joy, times of deep sorrow, and times of transition. That includes holding the prayers of the congregation throughout the week. If you are here in person, you can light a candle in one of our galleries and write down a prayer intention. And online, you can send an intention to prayer@firstunitarianportland.org. And we do pray these prayers throughout the week And I invite you, if you have a joy, a milestone joy, or a loss, or some significant transition that you would like to have shared in the congregation, you can send in an email or use the new form, and we'll send a link in our upcoming front steps, which makes it very easy to direct who you would like to receive your milestone. I thought I would begin with a transition and a joy from the General Assembly, which recently happened. The Reverend Kimberly Quinn Johnson and Bill Young were elected co-moderators of the UUA. This is the highest volunteer position of our wider association. And you may remember Reverend Kimberly as a speaker at my installation ceremony 2 years ago. She delivered a charge to the congregation, to all of you. We also have 2 milestones of loss. Member Jean Boyce died on June 6th at the age of 100 years old. She moved to Portland 15 years ago, and during that time lived with her daughter, Robin, also a member. She sang in our choir for many years. Jean was an educator, teaching students from preschool all the way up to grad school. We hold Robin and her extended family in prayers of healing in this season of loss. And may Jean's light and legacy of love continue to ripple out. Member Mike Cooch died early on the morning of June 25th at the age of 68 after living with Alzheimer's disease for the past 12 years. Mike was a longtime member of First Unitarian and leaves behind his wife Kathy, son Jack, siblings, and the many people who loved him. There will be a celebration of life scheduled in the future. Let us all hold Kathy and the family in our prayers for healing, and may Mike's legacy of love and the lessons of his days ripple out and on. And we have a concern to share. Member Sean Phillips shares that his cancer symptoms have returned, resulting in intensive treatment and discomfort. This comes at a difficult time as his wife, member A.D. Martinez Medina, is recovering from surgery. Sean and A.D. regularly attend online and are grateful for care and concern of the church community. We send our prayers of healing out to both of you. May you know that you are being held in the care of this community. Will you pray with me? Spirit of life, we in this community are in a liminal season because we're holding Danielle Garrett in this time of a good goodbye here in Portland, and oh, a good beginning in Salem, Massachusetts. We see in her a minister who has led and followed, collaborated and served our community with a keen and searching intellect and a courageous and tender heart. We see in her a minister who has modeled what it means to embody love through practice and ritual, through justice-making and compassionate care. We see in her a minister who we joyfully, even if tearfully, send forth as a leader who is ready to co-lead in a congregation of her own. May she carry these reflections from us with her, and may they be a boost in this new beginning and a boon in challenging times. May all of us in this room, physically and virtually, be reminded of our own ministries and callings to lead and follow, collaborate and serve, a spirit of love that is so desperately needed in our precious and hurting world, filled with precious and hurting people. May we continue to mentor and shape one another into a community that moves this corner of the world in which we live in the direction of more hope, more healing, and more abundant life. May it be so. Blessed be. Shalom. Salam. Amen. And now I invite you into a time of sacred silence where you can silently offer your own meditations and prayers. Let us fill up the room. I invite you to remain seated for our next prayerful hymn. We have two poems by Jane Hirschfeld this morning. The first is called Like Others. In the end, I was like others, a person sometimes embarrassed, sometimes afraid. When fire was shouted, some ran toward it, some away, I neck deep among them. The second poem, For What Binds Us. There are names for what binds us. Strong forces, weak forces. Look around and you can see them. The skin that forms in a half-empty cup, nails rusting into the places they join, joints dovetailed on their own weight, the way things stay so solidly wherever they've been set down, and gravity, scientists say, is weak. And see how the flesh grows back across a wound with a great vehemence, more strong than the simple, untested surface before. There's a name for it on horses when it comes back darker and raised. Proud flesh. As all flesh is proud of its wounds, wears them as honors given out after battle, small triumphs pinned to the chest. And when two people have loved each other, see how it is like a scar between their bodies, stronger, darker, and proud. How the black cord makes of them a single fabric that nothing can tear or mend.
Make sure I have a tissue close by. We're going to test out this waterproof mascara. One thing that you all might not know about me is that in my preteen and teen years, I was a competitive cheerleader. It's true. Now, I am not much of a daredevil or an adrenaline junkie. I prefer snowshoeing to skiing, prefer a leisurely hike rather than a mountain bike ride. And even then, the trail should be a good distance away from a steep ledge because I am a little scared of heights. But I loved cheering, and somehow I managed to muster the bravery to be atop of pyramids and tumbling through the air. It was helpful knowing that I had coaches and teammates who would catch me. It was helpful that during practice, at least, there was a springboard floor beneath me. And it also helped that they teach you how to fall. Now, this is not foolproof, of course, and I have some scars and a bad knee to prove it. But still, in sports like that, you spend some time practicing falling. We would practice rolling our body back with our hands above our head to try and train out the instinct to brace your fall with your wrist. You learn ways to come down, to bail out, that leave you unbruised enough to get back up and try again. Now, none of this took away the fear entirely, but it was a little easier knowing that I had a few tools in my pocket. And I tell you this because as I meditated on the topic of my last sermon with you all, my spirit kept landing on the word courage. I felt called to preach, "Have courage, friends." But it is an empty message if courage is just something you were either born knowing how to muster or not. To preach it, I had to believe that we can learn to be courageous. Or at the very least, I needed to remember that we can learn how to fall. I had to remember that we can practice this, getting braver over time, building up our resilience, and gathering tools and constructing safety nets that help give us the confidence needed to push ourselves beyond our limits. And I haven't really preached about courage a lot, at least not explicitly. A year ago at this time, I was beginning my stint as your summer minister, and this church was hurting. And courage was certainly needed, but my invitation to you was to rest, reflect, renew. Slow down, breathe, find some space and clarity, do some self-examination, and find a way to recommit to one another. And those are all things that actually take courage. But I think I was hesitant to use that word because I think in our culture, we often conflate courage with a kind of loud bravado. We think the most courageous person is the person willing to yell the loudest. We are more willing to ascribe courage to people chanting and holding up signs than to those trying to hold the pains and joys and complexities of our human experience in prayer and sacred silence. And our society has had plenty of yelling in recent years on social media and cable news, and a lot of outraged canceling, which has amounted to a cheap imitation of accountability that mimics our punitive justice system and leaves little room for grace and imagination and real repair. And looking around, I don't think that has gotten us very far. So one of the pillars of my ministry has been that we can learn to be different here, right? Churches can be laboratories, can be sites of moral imagining and joyful experimentation, where we can try and fail and discover new ways towards deeper relationships of love and accountability. So traditional archetypes of courage, warriors and lions and such, didn't seem to have much of a role to play in that counter-narrative. But a year later, in my last sermon with you all, as I look at both the challenges we face and the possibilities that exist inside and outside of these church walls, there isn't any other word that feels appropriate. We need an uncommon kind of courage in the days ahead. The times in which we live are not for the faint of heart. We need a crystal clear moral vision paired with a willingness to wade through the muddy waters of uncertainty about how we achieve it. But the kind of courage I'm talking about is a quieter, patient kind of courage. It's the kind of courage it takes to keep showing up for the people and communities we care about, to stick with it and love through it even when it's hard, and even when it hurts, and even when we feel stuck. I'm talking about the courage of people who can sit at the bedside of the dying with attention and presence. The kind of courage of people who can hold one another's pain and fear without rushing to fix or erase or distract. The kind of courage it takes to ask questions without any hope of finding an answer in our lifetimes, and to plant seeds we know we won't live to harvest. And the kind of courage it takes to let go of things, ideas that aren't serving us anymore, grievances that once gave us meaning but now only make us bitter, or ways of living that aren't in right relationship with one another and the earth. These are things that happen quietly, sometimes even privately, but that take tremendous courage because they require a great deal of vulnerability. They put our hearts and our spirits at risk of breaking with very little promise of any immediate gratification or praise. But this is the kind of courage we need right now. Because this is the kind of courage that it takes to not just tear down what is broken, but to build something new in its place. We want to stop ICE from detaining and deporting our neighbors. We want to stop the Supreme Court from stripping away our bodily autonomy. We want to stop the erosion of our democratic principles. But we also want to build a just and welcoming immigration system and create a culture that respects the inherent worth and dignity of each person. And we want to increase our buy-in and commitment to our collective life together. And that requires not just yelling, but listening, holding and healing the pain and fear that keep people committed to hate, admitting that we don't know the answers, but being willing to take risks and try new solutions anyway. And you all know me, so you know I'm going to talk about how we have to do this at church too, right? The two quotes that I cite more than any others are Annie Dillard's assertion that how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. And the other one is Adrienne Marie Brown's theory that how we are at the small scale is how we are at the large scale. So you know I think it's important how we show up here together. That we also show up at church with that kind of patient, quiet, stick-with-it courage. Because this place, too, is still figuring out how to heal from conflict, how to deal with disagreements in ways that are healthy and generative, and how to live into the promise of our covenantal community. And that work requires courage. But I am not asking anything of you that you are not capable of, and anything that I haven't already witnessed you do time and time again. As I return to my memories of my cheerleading days, the ways that I got comfortable climbing atop pyramids, I'm reminded of all of the tools that you all have that will help you move into the future with courage. So I want to name just a few of them for you today. First, you have a model and a partner in this work. You have a senior minister who exhibits this kind of courage I'm talking about regularly. I have met a lot of ministers who are willing to hold banners, and write op-eds and maybe even get arrested at protest. And I know she's willing to do all of that. But I don't really think that's especially rare. I think what is rare is her willingness to keep showing up for this community time and time again with a patient hope, even when it has been impossibly difficult. I've never met anyone so willing to see the best in people when others weren't showing that same willingness to her. You have a leader who believes so deeply in what this community stands for, what it can be, all of the possibilities that it holds, and all of the gifts that you bring to this work, that she has been willing to endure some frankly pretty cruel and painful behavior in service of that vision. She has kept planting seeds here of greater health and grace and accountability and love, even when some people were hell-bent on making sure she was not around to see the harvest. And honestly, that's more courage than I think any congregation should ask or expect of a minister. But you've got it, so don't waste it. Learn from it. Trust me, I am a braver person from having worked with her. And don't let her do it alone. Share in that courageous work with her. Writer and poet Maria Popova says, "To live with hope in times that reward cynicism and in many ways call for cynicism is a tremendous act of courage and resistance." So meet her there at that place of steady hope amidst cynicism and uncertainty, and do the work together of building a healthy community rooted in love and justice. Second, remember that you've already been practicing this. You have learned how to fall and get back up again. I said this in my e-news column this week, but I really want to repeat it in person to you all. This past year, you did a hard and brave and important thing together. A thing that was not in any way certain or inevitable. You showed up to gather and worship and hold one another's joys and sorrows, even when worship was not always a comfortable place to be. You said yes to shared ministry with one another and with Reverend Allison and committed to a future together. You kept the good work of this church going even when it was hard and even when it was painful. It required sitting in discomfort and staying curious, keeping open hearts and minds, and being willing to show up together in ways that were maybe different but healthier. And it was so inspiring to witness. So I know you can find courage for the work ahead because you have done it before. So don't forget that. Hold on to that memory and those lessons when you feel your courage faltering. And finally, you have a lot of experience with the cumulative impact of small acts of courage. Quaker author and teacher Parker Palmer writes, "There is a particular kind of courage in the willingness to make one's small, imperfect offering. Saying, in effect, I don't have much to give, but I give it gladly as a contribution to the common good." He says, when we have that kind of courage, we encourage one another. And as more and more people make their small offerings, the cumulative effect can become something big. Church is a place made up of small offerings. I've watched you give what you could during the pledge campaign, knowing no single donation would close a budget gap. I've watched you show up every week to volunteer at the Shower Project, knowing you were not going to end homelessness in Portland. I've watched you hold grief support groups, knowing that you couldn't erase one another's pain. This knowledge that it is worth doing what you can, even when the outcome is uncertain, will serve you well in the work ahead. You have so much experience and so many tools to draw on. And I think that your work going forward now is to keep stitching together the safety net that can catch you when you take courageous risks and fall. One that is sturdy enough to hold your weight, but flexible enough to offer some give and a soft landing. And that is the work of healthy boundaries and right relations and covenanting. The work that you all are doing and will continue to do to figure out how to be together in ways that are healthy and sustainable, that work becomes the threads that tie you all together into a community that is both strong and flexible enough to catch each other. There is so much at stake now in our city, in our nation, and in the world. We need communities of care and hope and resilience. We need communities with grit and heart that have the tools and structures for transforming conflict and working for justice and imagining new ways forward. In the 2 years that I have been here, I've seen this church demonstrate its willingness to be one of those vital spaces. So do not shy away from this work. It has been a blessing to do this work alongside you, even for a short time. And the experiences we have shared together have not always been easy. I know we all carry some scars. But as Jane Hirschfield reminds us, the love we have shared in this sanctuary, even and maybe especially when it was hard, means we are connected by a cord into a single fabric that nothing can tear. We have left a mark on one another, and the blessings of our shared ministry will continue to ripple out. I'm leaving here with more tools in my toolbox as well, with a deeper commitment to the power and possibility of parish ministry, and with a renewed moral courage and clarity of conscience that I will take with me into my next ministry. And I am leaving with so much love and gratitude and hope. All I ask as I go is that you continue to show up here together with open hearts and minds, with deep faith and steady courage. May it be so. Amen. Thank you. Thank you all so much. You can stay risen and join together in singing. Go lift it up. Thank you all. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard and the path is never clear, and these stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. For this is the day that you and I have been given, so let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace. Practice love. Amen.